Good morning. Kevin Davis, Fairfax County Police Chief. I'm joined by the Major Crimes Bureau Chief, Major Ed O'Carroll, this morning, and thank you for coming out. We continue our search for Emily Lou. Emily Lou, our missing person. We began this missing person investigation on June the 4th. It quickly turned into a circumstance in an investigation that had suspicious circumstances attached to it, and we involved our homicide unit in the investigation. It remains a missing person investigation. We will not stop until we find Emily Lou. The reward is up to $20,000 now. We've been working very closely with our federal and local law enforcement partners, particularly the FBI, the Prince William County Police Department, and they join us today, and the George Mason University Police Department. We've remained in constant contact with the family. Our victim services advocates are best in class, best I've ever seen, and they've remained in contact with Emily Lou's daughter and sister and other family members as we continue our search for Emily Lou. Great community concern, a public interest, as it should be for a 72-year-old woman who goes suddenly missing from her home, and we're not going to stop until we find Emily Lou and hopefully reunite her with her family. Major Ed O'Carroll, Major Crimes Bureau Chief, is going to go into a few more details, and then Major Carroll and I will both stand ready to answer any questions you may have. Major.
Thank you, Chief Davis. I appreciate that. As the Chief said, I am Major Ed O'Carroll, Bureau Chief of Major Crimes, Cyber, and Forensics for the Fairfax County, Virginia Police Department. Today marks day 42 since our officers responded to Miss Lou's home not far from here on Davis Drive in Fairfax County to investigate her disappearance. As the Chief said, we have made significant progress, but we have a lot of work yet to do. Our detectives, our analysts, our cyber and forensic specialists have worked tirelessly and are operating with a sense of urgency to put closure to this case. Miss Lou deserves it. The Fairfax County Police Department, along with our regional partners, as the Chief mentioned, who many of them are joining us today, look forward to achieving justice for Emily and resolution for her loving family. You know, what justice and resolution will look like in this case is yet to be fully determined. We remain open-minded. We have identified a person of interest. To recap where we've been over the past 42 days, we know Miss Lou visited the Aldi grocery store in Prince William County. We've shared that video. We've talked about that being the last time that she's seen alive. That Aldi grocery store is located within Prince William County, Virginia. That's on June 3rd. June 4th, the family contacts the Fairfax County Police Department, and we spring into action. When officers were at her home, we found no signs of forced entry. Detectives responded that same day and also noticed that the groceries were still bagged, and we found evidence of a possible struggle that likely occurred. Coupled with other circumstances and physical evidence, a lot of digital evidence that the detectives have uncovered, we do suspect foul play. Our homicide detectives were dispatched to assist our missing persons unit. And again, that occurred several weeks ago. We are processing evidence daily. Numerous search operations, no different than the one today that's occurring here in Lorton. We recognize the importance of our partners, as the Chief mentioned, the FBI, our local law enforcement. It's a joint operation, and to them, thank you. Although I cannot and will not identify the person of interest, I can share with you it's more than a hunch. We followed up on leads, thank you to the community. And as a local resident, being in these local shopping centers, even off duty, seeing those signs of Emily Lou are encouraging. Thank you to the community. We do not believe that the foul play that resulted in Miss Lou's disappearance was random. or committed by a person unknown to her. To be clear, we are not ruling anything out. These cases are complicated. A tremendous amount of evidence, digital evidence and physical evidence. And I'd like to thank the Virginia State Laboratory of Forensic Science who are helping on this case, analyzing the evidence. And they understand the critical importance of being rapid with their returns to help our detectives. Our search and rescue team members that are here today and have been out here on many occasions and will not stop until we receive a sense of closure. And to our cyber and forensics team, oftentimes on the scene with our mobile forensics lab, and then back at our headquarters working around the clock. It's a digital age that we live in, but there's nothing that beats officers in the community, in the shopping centers, talking to community residents. It's very important that we use all assets, to include our drone use even today, our police helicopter, and all our officers and professional folks that are working to find Miss Lou. Justice will prevail. We've talked to many people in Miss Lou's life, and I can firmly say Miss Lou is kind. She is compassionate. She is very giving, and she is a very thoughtful person. I do encourage anyone with information, if you haven't spoken to the Fairfax County Police Department, it's imperative that we hear from you. Our job continues, but we can't do it alone. Law enforcement partners are critical. Community support and information from the community is imperative. If you have any information, contact us at 703-246-7800. 703-246-7800, option 6. You'll get to a detective, share information that you have. As the chief mentioned, a $20,000 reward is being offered through the Fairfax County Crime Solvers program. You can remain anonymous. And as the chief said, there's no dispute that this case has garnered significant amount of attention, both in the public, in the media, within the police department. Rightfully so. Every case is important. And I appreciate the attention to this case. All our partners, we all, including our community, have a role to play. The chief and I will take any questions that you may have.
Major, can you elaborate on any of the evidence that's been discovered? Have you recovered anything, away from the home?
We recovered a lot from inside the home, and we recovered a lot from outside the home.
Can you elaborate on the specifics of what you found?
So I will not elaborate on all the evidence or any of the evidence, because this is an active case. Someone or some people, we have not ruled out whether this is an individual or individuals, have been involved in foul play. And I don't want to jeopardize this very, very important case at a press conference.
Major, you say no signs of forced entry. We know Ms. Lou did rent out rooms in her home. Is that person of interest a tenant?
I will not say if the person of interest is a tenant or not. I can say that the person of interest is not a stranger to Miss Lou. This was not a random act.
Major, is there any visual surveillance video from the neighborhood, anyone else's home or her home, that places that person of interest in the neighborhood on June 3rd, the night of?
Yeah, thanks for that question. We've got a lot of digital evidence. As I mentioned in my remarks, we're in a digital age. We have video surveillance. I'm not going to say exactly where it's from or how many places. Just like the video we shared of Miss Lou, the last time that she's seen alive. We have shared things that we think won't jeopardize a case if this case moves to an arrest. And let me be clear, I think it's very likely that the chief and I will be back before you with an arrest or arrests. We're confident. We're working hard. The detectives are working hard.
Major, can I ask, what brings you here today? Is this based on a specific bit of information that you're looking specifically here for something?
Yeah, I appreciate that. The question about here, it's pretty large. This is a largely undeveloped area in Lorton, right? You saw that when you came through this part of Fairfax County. There's a lot of area to search. We are not only researching areas that we have, we're going into territory even further out. As I mentioned, the chief said it as well. We haven't given up, so we're expanding that area, looking into other areas of this part of Fairfax County to look for additional clues.
So we shouldn't take anything from you being here today that you're narrowing your search to this location?
No, actually, I'd like you to take one thing away, is that we're expanding the search. It's not narrow, it's wide. And even with our announcement today that we have a person of interest, we have not excluded that there could be a second person of interest or someone involved with the person of interest that I referred to.
Major, why not charge someone if you have a good idea of who's done it and you have a person of interest already and strong evidence from the scene?
Yeah, Justin, that's a great question. I will tell you, Emily and Emily's family deserves the best justice. So we will move swiftly, but we need to be accurate. I use that word hunch. That is not a hunch, but we want to make sure we have the best case forward. Chief?
Yeah, Justin, if I could add to that, and you all know we arrest based on probable cause, and we're working in partnership with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, just like we are with the FBI, Prince William County, today, George Mason University Police Department. I'll pause for a second. But the announcement of a person of interest, we believe, is important to let the community know that this remains front and center for the Fairfax County Police Department. The moment we get probable cause to arrest, we will arrest. And we think that that's likely our next appearance before the community.
Chief,
Place
along
charges
those
without
lines.
finding her body if she is dead?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, what was the question?
I said I asked if they can place charges without finding her body.
It is police departments do name people of interest. That is a common and naming a person of interest might get people to think, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
What is your concern about naming a person of interest if you believe that you
Yeah.
know? who it is?
So good point, Neil. Like you, I've been around for a while, and I have at times named a person of interest, and at other times not named a person of interest. Our person of interest knows that he's a person of interest. He knows it. So we're interested in generating any community chatter, any tips that someone's holding on to. We contemplated whether or not we were going to name the person, but like Major O'Carroll said, our biggest concern is the integrity of the investigation and beyond the arrest. So beyond the arrest is a criminal prosecution of this person, and we want to put the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office in the best position to successfully prosecute.
And I'm sorry, just to follow. If you'd recovered any evidence that she was not, the case is still a missing person case. If you had any forensic evidence that she was not still alive, would you have classified this as a homicide case?
Neil, we would, in the moment, if and when we get evidence that leads us to change the classification of this investigation, we will announce that. We're not there yet.
Chief, is the person of interest who you identified as a he, is he cooperating?
I did give up the pronoun, didn't I? So we have a person of interest. Our person of interest is a he, and I won't say anything beyond that. Again, not because I don't want to, but because I want our community to know how hard, and I think our community does know how hard we're working on this. But that person, if and when we move to the next stage, we'll be back before you to describe it.
Could you go into more detail about which locations have been searched so far?
Yeah, I'll let Major O'Carroll go into that. There are many locations, not only locally, but outside of the Commonwealth that we've searched and continue to search. And there are a few locations, like today's location, where we're back again. And you have to go back time after time. And there's been some missing person cases in the DMV over the years. And one thing that I think we all learned from those those high-profile missing person cases is you can't just search an area once. You've got to go back repeatedly to get it right. So I'll ask Major O'Carroll to describe, to the best that we can, other areas we've searched, Justin.
Yeah, Justin, so we have been expanding the search wider than Davis Drive, Ox Road, north and south, east and west. As the chief said, this case takes us out of Fairfax County and out of the state of Virginia. And we dedicated staff to follow up on all those leads. You know, this is not a cold case. This is one of many very, very active cases by the Fairfax County Police Department. And I want to take a moment to thank Chief Davis for his leadership. Every single day we're talking about it. The chief asks me and my staff, where are we? So this is an all-hands-on-deck approach to get justice, and we will get it right. We will not jeopardize anything for the justice that needs to be adjudicated in this case in the courtroom. We've already said this foul play. That's why I said I'm very confident I'll be standing before you with much different remarks on where this case will go. But with that said, anyone with information, we still need to hear from you. We've talked to a lot of people, tremendous amount of people, but I'm sure there's someone out there that's waiting or hesitant. You can remain anonymous.
Two more questions, guys.
Neighbors here say that they've seen you all searching the pond. I know you mentioned seeing signs of Miss Lou. Are you saying seeing signs that she's alive and well, will be reunited with her family? Or?
See, Eric, if you can ask that second part, because we have been here. We've used drones. We've used our dive team. We've used search and rescue. We have drained a water retention pond. You know, we've looked above ground and frankly below ground. We've looked and we are looking everywhere. The second part of your question?
You just said signs of Miss Lou earlier. What did you mean by that? Just evidence?
Yeah, evidence. So maybe it's clothing, maybe it's a purse, and I'm giving just general examples of any sign or signal that gives us yet another clue. I'll say again, we have a lot of evidence in this case. I suspect there might be more evidence. So we're not asking the community to go in the woods and search. Actually, today we'll be here throughout the day. Please let law enforcement operate safely through these woods and through this area. Okay, I think there's been a crash. We got officers heading out there. Thank you, Sergeant. Well, that will conclude the press conference based upon.
Can I ask one more thing? Sure. Major and Chief, since we're all here and Ms. Lou's here, could we ask if Jenny might?
I'll say this. We had that conversation with Jenny. She does not wish to do that. So we gotta honor her wishes. But again, thank you all. It just dawned on me that the Major and I are in the shade and you're not. So not intentional. But thank you for coming out. The announcement of a person of interest is key, I think, for the community. And we search and then we search again. And several high-profile cases have taught law enforcement some lessons over the years. And we got to go back and back again and double and triple check. So we remain very hopeful that the next time we appear before you, it will be a different announcement.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is yours again?